I've discovered the cure to wasting your life on perfection. So if you are waiting for the perfect moment to start your dream project, perfection is defined as a flawless state where everything is exactly right. Magnificence, exquisiteness, flawlessness. So what does it mean to be imperfect then? The exact opposite. Imperfect comes from the Latin word imperfectus, meaning incomplete.
Alrighty then.
So there you have it. I am incomplete in my aspirations, and maybe so are you. How does that land? Does it hurt? Or instead, does it all of a sudden not seem so scary when you break it down to the bare definition? Maybe we can work with that. It's like when your landlord has come to do the final inspection and they give you an incomplete because you didn't clean the oven. You're just not done. Which makes me think, is completion better than perfect? Because at least that gives you a clear target in mind, right? Done doesn't sound so bad, does it? You can waste a lot of time contemplating and trying to clarify yourself to others, why you've tended to start, then stop things, and then leave them incomplete. I used to attribute this consistent tendency to a traumatic childhood, learning from the people I surrounded myself with, my many unhealthy environments. But what I've learned in recent years is you can choose not to give your antidote away anymore. You can actually just focus on what is within your circle of control. This is the lesson to overcome. You must change your habitual tendency to think yourself out of a completion, or even better yet, starting the actual process. If we want to get better, if we want to prove that voice inside of us saying, "You're not good enough yet, you're not ready, this isn't the right time," wrong, then we need to be the ones in power. So let's leave the how we got here and focus on what we can do about it now. Because I don't know about you, but I would love to finish my 22 screenplays, 3 novels, and help my business that I finally started to continue to grow. Whether we put too much pressure on ourselves or not, things still need to get done. Deadlines can actually give us structure. They are like a living sourdough starter. There is a certain amount of steps, of accountability, and chemistry involved for them to be kept alive every single day. So instead of telling yourself you need things to be perfect, ask yourself, when have things felt completed? What evidence in my life do I have of bringing things to completion? Am I incapable of completing things? Well, no. You've probably walked into an establishment, handed in a resume, been hired, trained, then after time, left that job for the next opportunity. So you've completed work experience. Judging by this evidence, it appears you can show up and complete what is required, maybe even if you don't always feel your best at the time. So what's the difference between showing up as best as you can to be accountable towards others versus showing up to complete a necessary day of working on something for yourself? The only difference is you've been too precious with one. The reality is they both require work, the sacrifice of time, and once again, completion. The work just needs to be done, completed, or handed in. So what requires completion the most? Just small steps of action. Therefore, performing the task to completion is better than it just existing in your head as magnificent, superb, or perfect. Because now it will truly exist and not just for you. If you build a fit body, you will have more energy to give to others. If you start a business, you will solve a customer's problem. If you complete a creative project, you will inspire or even expand other people's imaginations. So stop waiting for ideal conditions or states of being. The only perfection you continue to keep currently producing is that narrative you spin for yourself. I'm starting to believe that the better you are at telling yourself stories, then that could almost be a detriment when it comes to the stories you tell yourself about or to yourself. It is great to have high standards for yourself, but you still need to start from somewhere. You still need to suck at something before you can get better, because that's what it means to be an evolving human. This is the lesson. An F is better than an I when it comes to life. Because at least with the F, the fail, you completed the assignment, the dream, and gained insight from it to go back and do it even better again if you are brave enough to do so. But with an incomplete, you will never even reach the feat of so-called perfection. You will not know when something is done and you can move on from it. You will live with an open loop. You will be haunted by the idea of the work. You will never know to the full extent what you have to share or contribute to this world. We all have different downloads and unique viruses. But if you've got all the parts and you're still not assembled, you will never go live. You will never be online. And you will never get to be surprised by yourself with the connections you make along the way.
You do the thing you're scared shitless of, and you get the courage after you do it, not before you do it.
So instead of obsessing over perfection, ask yourself, what evidence do you have of past completions? It's more powerful to focus on or to figure out what feels complete in your heart already. This could be any endeavor you may have fully applied yourself to. I have completed the requirements for having a happy dog. I have completed long work days for my employer when I wasn't sure how I would make it through. I have moved to new cities by myself to begin again. I think if you try to reflect on your life through the eyes of completion, choosing to move through the obstacles, then all of the work left to do is just extra. Maybe this can be a radical acceptance of where you are at, and that is exactly where you need to be. Instead of being so focused on doing everything so well all the time. I like the idea of learning how to fail less along the way, or even better yet, learning to fail faster through constant experimental action and course correction, rather than being consumed by the pain of never starting at all. You will also learn way more about yourself and the work you are doing if you begin the process in an imperfect state. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't need to feel good. You're scared and you're accepting that you're going to fail a lot throughout the journey. However, completing it, making it to that finish line, the deadline, is still more worthwhile than just keeping the perfect idea to yourself. You can also begin to recognize when you feel that uneasiness creeping in. The resistance, as Steven Pressfield calls it. Realizing that you don't need to feel comfortable or safe all the time is actually really liberating. So whoever needs to hear this, it hurts more keeping stories inside of you. It takes more energy thinking about the work versus actually doing it. And just remember, everyone poops at the end of the day. No one nor any version of you will ever be completely perfect. Our brains are just designed to keep us alive, safe, and not necessarily thrive. That's up to us to learn how to do for ourselves. The only way you get better is through completion of one thing and then on to the next. Forget everything you thought you knew or would equate to perfection, and just release that potential power inside of you and try experimenting in public. Your result of being done or your version of done will just become better and better over time. I promise.